Chat, what's going on, boys? Welcome back to the stream. Obviously, we're in a different setting here. I'm on vacation currently. I mentioned this in a couple of my streams that I wouldn't be streaming that much for this week and part of next week. I'll be back at the end of next week. But this is kind of what we have for this point. So for this week, I'll let you guys know whenever I decide to stream or anything like that. But at this current point, I'm what's it called? I'm kind of just having this different setup and having a little bit of a different schedule here. But we're just trying to make it work. I don't have my mic also, so the audio might sound a little bit different than normal. Obviously, I'm not at my normal studio. But let me see what's in. Have my mic also, so the audio might sound. All right, the audio sounds pretty good, I think. But if there's any issues, be sure to let me know in chat. But anyways, so let's get into it. So it's been a while since we talked last, but since we talked, there's been a couple different things that came out. Obviously, the thing that's on most people's minds is Brian Ortega. So Ortega was the fight between him and Aljamain Sterling was initially on. Then it seemed like it was off. Then it seemed like it was on again. And it seems like at this point they are going through with that fight. Joshua, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, so it seems like that fight's on. It's going to be at a catch weight at 153, I think. When you saw the videos of Ortega walking, though, after weighing in, it did seem kind of weird, just because it looked like he's like essentially dying out there. But it seems like the fight's still going to go through. Hopefully, Brian Ortega can be in good health by the time they fight. It's going to be at a weird time, unfortunately, but it's pretty close to when they're going to fight. So it's interesting. Initially, going into the fight, I thought Aljamain Sterling would be able to win. Now, after all these weighing in with Ortega and everything, I'm even more confident that Aljo's going to win. But I guess we'll see how that one goes. Now, outside of just the Brian Ortega and Aljamain Sterling fight, there's some other news that came out. Umar Nurmagomedov said that he's going to be fighting in Abu Dhabi on October 26th. Now, I talked about this in a lot of my streams, but initially it did seem like he was going to fight in Canada for that card, but they decided to go a different route. And for the Vancouver card that's coming up not too soon from now, we do have a main event for it, and it's going to be RDR versus Fluffy Hernandez. That's the new main event that they were going with. There was a lot of rumors that Umar versus Mario Batista was going to be on that card, but it seemed like they went a different direction. I think the main event is actually even better for that card, RDR and Fluffy. I talked about this a lot in stream, but ever since Fluffy won his fight against Roman Dolidze, I thought that was a very obvious next fight that the UFC should put on between him and RDR, and obviously they've done it. I told you about the betting potential on the Roman Murphy. Yeah, it was great. It was a really good performance. Very good read on Alexander Hernandez. You definitely did see it. I didn't think there was a ton of value there, but obviously at the end of the first round, Alexander Hernandez is really powerful, and I thought his only way to win was by finding a KO or a TKO. That's exactly what he was able to do at the end of the round. So really good performance from Hernandez, and for Lerone Murphy, also a good performance. Now, when you look at my videos, like I will admit I was wrong on essentially all my videos, 2 of the 3 that I had going into the card. But when you look at each individual fight, I feel like I was relatively close on a lot of them. So going into the fight between Lerone Murphy and Aaron Pico, I thought Pico would just be too explosive and would overpower Lerone Murphy, which he was actually doing. He was doing a great job at he took down Lerone Murphy once in that round. He also did a great job at pressuring, putting Lerone alongside the cage, putting together boxing combinations. He hits really hard. Obviously, he was able to somewhat hurt Lerone Murphy in that first round, but that's always the knock with Aaron Pico. It's him being a little bit too aggressive and running into some big shots, and that's kind of what happened. So obviously, really, really good performance from Lerone Murphy. It was a beautifully timed spinning elbow, and it landed clean and knocked out Aaron Pico completely. But with that being said, I heard some people saying that Aaron Pico sucks. He's another one of those Bellator guys or PFL guys that aren't really going to be all that good. In my opinion, I thought he showed a lot of good things. It's just he has shown the same issue that he's been having forever, which is just getting caught by big shots and getting knocked out. So we'll see how Aaron Pico performs, any sort of adjustments he's able to make going forward from here. But yeah, I don't know. I still think Aaron Pico is going to be good. And for Lerone Murphy, it was a great performance. As I said, he will be getting the next title shot against Alexander Volkanovski, which will be a fun fight. I'm assuming Volkanovski is going to retire after that fight, regardless of the result. But But I guess we'll see what happens there. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Shame my name is yeah, that always happens. That always happens. But I guess it's just a part of the game. As I said, I thought Aaron Pico looked really good until he didn't, but that's kind of his MO, unfortunately. He gets hit a lot. He gets hit a lot. He gets hit clean. He's a little bit too aggressive. I heard Henry Cejudo talking about this a little bit, which I think it was actually a great point. He talked about Aaron Pico. His aggression is definitely a big reason for why he's been so successful in a lot of his fights. Just pressuring his opponents alongside the cage, putting together boxing combinations, and eventually finding one huge shot to knock out his opponent. So obviously he does that very well, but at the same time, he always keeps himself in the fire. So he's always open to counter shots. And obviously, as we saw in this fight versus Lerone Murphy, as well as some other fights that he's been in, his chin isn't necessarily the best. Not saying that most guys would be able to take that spinning elbow from Lerone, but in general, we have seen Aaron Pico's chin not look the best in a lot of his fights. So him throwing himself into the fire the way he does and always having exciting fights isn't always the best scenario for him. He's kind of just a guy, better, obviously, but kind of similar to Michael Chandler, where either he'll get a big finish and it'll be very impressive, or he'll get knocked out himself. And that's, I think, is the biggest criticism and a very fair criticism for Aaron Pico. We'll see if he can make adjustments. I think if he is able to make more adjustments, and if he is able to be a little bit more patient, I think this guy honestly could be a champion. I think he showed some really good things in the fight versus Lerone, but we will see. He's been fighting forever, and a lot of times it's hard for guys to make adjustments at this point in their career. So we shall see. Lerone just slipped up. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. He's just a little bit too aggressive. I mean, he always puts on fun performances, which is great to see, obviously. But he's also throwing himself into the fire, and he's very open to some counter shots. And if someone's able to land a clean counter shot before Pico's able to land a big shot up top, he's most likely going to get knocked out. And that's what we saw in the Lerone Murphy fight, as well as some of his fights in Bellator / the PFL. I disagree with those who say Pico. Yeah, I agree. I also agree that I disagree with that statement. Pico is probably going to be good. If he goes up against a big power puncher, it's going to be a dangerous fight for him. As I said, his defense is not very good. But I do think in a lot of his fights, he'll be fine. His boxing is really good. His pressure is really good. His wrestling is really good. There's a lot of things he does really well. It's just the biggest thing that he doesn't do well, as I touched upon before. His defense is just not very good. And it's a big problem when you're going up against guys with big power, or even guys who aren't that powerful. I mean, Lerone Murphy's not that powerful. He just timed up a perfectly timed spinning elbow with Pico coming in. So Pico definitely needs to make adjustments. I just had the camera. Yeah. There definitely is a lot of that in MMA. And B, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. And I feel like yeah. I mean, it's definitely a big thing that a lot of MMA fans talk shit or whatever to certain fighters, and they wouldn't do the same if they were in person. But it's what it is. That's the game. Pico got knocked out, and we move on. But as I said, for Lerone Murphy, great performance. He'll definitely get a title shot against Volkanovski next. When is that going to be? I don't know. We'll see whenever the UFC decides to announce that fight. And then for Aaron Pico, as I said, I still think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be fine in the weight class. And we'll see. So Pico is not ranked after that loss. I mean, it was a loss, but I thought there was a chance maybe he could be ranked, but he's not, obviously. So a fight for Aaron Pico that he could have next is maybe you can put him up against a Dan Ige potentially, if Dan Ige doesn't have a fight booked. Someone lower in the lower half of the rankings, I think, would make sense for Pico, because as I said, I think he's still pretty good. Now, there you go. Yeah, I agree with you. I'll give Pico, Dan Ige, or Kattar next. Yeah, I think Kattar should probably retire. But if he doesn't retire, I guess that could be a guy they give to Aaron Pico. And for Dan Ige, I agree with that one. I think that makes a lot of sense. A guy in the rankings for Pico, I think you should probably give him a ranked fight, even though he did lose against Lerone Murphy. So I agree with that. Ortega looked terrible on the scales in the face-off. Yeah, he looked really bad. I'm pretty surprised his fight is still going on. But I guess it's at a catch weight at 153, I believe, and both Aljo and Ortega agreed to it. and they're just going to go forward with the fight. I don't know. We'll see how he looks actually in the fight. On the scales, he looked terrible. And then the face-off, he also looked really, really bad, which is concerning for sure. But I don't know. I'm assuming, I don't know. I'm assuming there'll be someone around Brian Ortega that would pull him out if he was looking really bad. It looked like he was looking terrible. But I don't know. It's just weird to see that UFC approved it, any organization approved it, and as well as Ortega himself and as well as Ortega's team approved this fight to continue forward, which is just weird. But I don't know. After rehydrating, I guess it could make a big difference, and maybe by tomorrow or later today in China time, maybe he'll be fine. So we'll see how he looks. But I do think this could be kind of bad for Brian Ortega. I do think Aljamain Sterling, as I said, was going to win even before this fight, or before the weigh-ins, I should say. But especially after that, seeing Brian Ortega look the way he did, I think Aljamain Sterling has a real chance to even find a finish in this fight, when usually he's not really a finisher. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It was kind of weird how the reporting was saying that it was off, then it was on, then it was off, then it was on. But I don't know. He looked pretty bad. I would honestly, I mean, it seems like the fight's going on, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if they just cancel the fight again. It's weird. Cater lost his step-esteem, like you said. Yeah, 100%, 100%. As I said, I think Cater should probably retire. At his peak, he was really good boxing. But when you looked at a lot of Cater's fights, especially as of late, it just seems like he's not the same guy at all. His chin, I mean, he's still never been knocked out, but his chin doesn't seem like it's as good as it once was. And even in terms of his mentality in there, it doesn't seem like he's willing to throw himself into the fire to land a couple big shots. It seems like he's really on the defense for the majority of his fights as of late. And yeah, he definitely lost a step. I think he should probably retire. Cater was supposed to be the next big thing. Yeah. Ortega should become a full lightweight at this point. Yeah, I agree. I posted it on my X if you guys are interested in following me. But yeah, I completely agree. Ortega has been talking about moving up to 155 for a little bit of time now, and for whatever reason, he decided to fight Aljamain Sterling at 145. I don't know if his plan was to move up after this fight anyway. I don't know. But after, essentially missing weight this time and not looking good on the scales at all, and also when you look back at his fight versus Diego Lopez the first time when they were supposed to fight, he also missed weight or got sick because of weight-related issues. It seems like he's just cutting way too much weight to go down to 145, and it seems like at this point Brian Ortega should just make the move to 155 and move to lightweight division. As I said before, like, he has been talking about it, that he wants to do it. So especially after this weight scare on top of the last one, he probably should just make the move. Do you think the UFC try to make Ortega stay at 145%? Yeah. Honestly, maybe. Honestly, they had this fight in mind, him versus Aljamain Sterling. I mean, it is a really good fight, for being honest, assuming both of these guys were healthy. So maybe the UFC kind of try to make Ortega stay, because, yeah, as I said, and as you said, he did say he wanted to move up to 155 a couple of times, actually. And he still decided to stay at 145. So I don't know. Maybe he got an incentive. Maybe he got a pay bonus to stay at the weight class. Maybe the UFC just wanted to put this fight together. I don't know. But the only thing that I will say is the UFC has never been known to try to push Aljamain Sterling. And if they were trying to get Ortega to stay at 145, I'm assuming that means they would want him to win against Ortega. But as I said, Aljamain Sterling has never been a guy the UFC has pushed. They essentially try to get Aljamain Sterling to lose against Sean O'Malley by having a very quick turnaround for Aljamain Sterling at 135, knowing that Aljo cut so much weight. Obviously, he ended up getting knocked out, and the UFC kind of got what they wanted. So it's possible that the UFC wanted to keep Ortega at 145, but in my opinion, I don't think it's super likely, just because, as I said, I don't think the UFC thinks that much of Aljamain Sterling, unfortunately. I think he's really good, but I don't think the UFC does. Another fight that you can is Pat Sabatini. Would be a classic grappler striker matchup. Yeah, well, Aaron Pico is also a great grappler. I mean, maybe he doesn't have the same jiu-jitsu or anything like that as Pat Sabatini, but his wrestling is honestly, like, very, very good. I don't know if I want to say it's elite, but it's very good. So that's a good matchup. I think that's probably a tailor-made matchup, in my opinion, for Aaron Pico. I think he should get a win there. So, yeah, if you wanted to put that fight together against an unranked guy for Pico, give him a pretty big step down in competition to get his confidence back and maybe get a finish, I think that would probably make a lot of sense. So I could see that. UFC can't make fighters stay at a weight. No, they can't make them stay at a weight, but if they say we're going to pay you a certain amount of money, a bonus to stay at the weight class, it might incentivize some guys to stay at the weight class. So, as I said, I just don't think it's super likely in this specific case for Aljamain Sterling because the UFC has never been known to push Aljo. There's actually been a bunch of times where they haven't pushed Aljamain Sterling, but yeah. Brett, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. You away from home? Yeah, I'm away from home. I'm actually in Mexico now, but took a little bit of time to stream with the boys, talk about some fights. Obviously, we have UFC Shanghai tomorrow, and yeah. So Sterling wins via decision. Ming Yang, okay, round one. Yeah, most likely. I think since it is a 5-round fight, and since Ortega is drained, I wouldn't be shocked if Sterling finds some sort of finish, whether it's a TKO, not super likely for a TKO, but for either a TKO or submission. I do think there is a chance that Aljo finds a finish, especially considering how badly Ortega looked on the scales. And for Min Yang, I think it's probably like around a 90% chance that he finds a KO, most likely early against Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is super athletic. He does have skill. He hits really hard and everything. And if he lands a big shot on Min Yang, who knows, I guess. But it's just a problem with Johnny Walker is he's just so hittable, and his chin is obviously not good. It's never been good. But especially at this point, after taking all the shots and getting knocked out as many times as he has throughout his UFC career, it just doesn't seem super likely that Johnny Walker is going to walk away with a W here. So I agree with both of your picks here, and it's probably how it's going to play out. But I guess we'll see. Is in the UFC featherweight division, close to lightweight division. Yeah, it's not that far, but cutting 10 additional pounds is a lot of weight. Guys talk about it all the time. Ilya Topuria is another guy. Him cutting down to 145 was a relatively difficult cut. Him cutting to 155, not that difficult of a cut for him. So, 10 pounds is a pretty big difference. Sterling should stay at lightweight too. He should move up again to lightweight, you're saying? He's at 145. He went from 135 to 145. You're saying he should go to 155? I think at 155 he might be a little bit small. I think 145 is a great weight class for Aljo, in my opinion. It's a point where he doesn't need to cut that much weight. For 135, he had to cut a ridiculous amount of weight. But at 145, I think it makes a lot of sense because he doesn't have to cut that much weight. But at the same time, he is pretty big for the weight class, and he can still have an advantage with his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu. So in my opinion, I think 145 is a great weight class for him. Walker would be insane in heavyweight, not going to lie, with his athleticism. Yeah. In an ideal world, I do agree with you, but I just feel like I've seen it too many times where Johnny Walker looks like he should beat certain guys and he just get caught and get KO'd. So the power at the heavyweight division, if they were able to catch Johnny Walker, it'd probably be a big issue. But in principle, I do agree with you that Johnny Walker's athleticism and power and speed would be very good for the heavyweight division, especially considering that everybody's going to be so much slower than what Johnny's used to. But for whatever reason, I feel like he'll still find a way to get caught by one of these blobs or something and get knocked out. But I would like it. UFC does not want Sterling, but probably. Yeah. I'm sure they did. I think they always do whenever there's a catch weight. So I'm sure Aljo got a little bit of a pay bump. I know Aljo was complaining about, and honestly, rightfully so, he was complaining about him not wanting 5 rounds and him not getting any sort of pay incentive to fight 5 rounds. I don't know why he accepted in the first place. That's also fair criticism. But it doesn't really make any sense for you to go from a 3-round fight to a 5-round fight and not get any more pay. I don't know. But for the catch weight, I'm sure Aljo got some good money for that. I believe Sterling walks around at 175. Yeah, he probably does. I don't know exactly what he walks around at, but I wouldn't be surprised. But would it be small for 155? Probably not. But I think 145 is a great weight class for him personally. He cuts enough weight to the point where it's not too detrimental to him, but at the same time, he's bigger than a lot of guys at the weight class, and he's able to utilize his wrestling advantage. And I talk about this all the time, but a huge reason for why guys cut weight is because they want to be bigger than everybody else, and they have their own advantages. And as you move up in weight classes, you kind of lose those advantages. So I think at 145 is a perfect medium for Aljo. That Hill KO was, yeah, it was weird. he kind of like connected like here, or like it was like a weird angle, but yeah, it was weird. But it's just another example of Johnny Walker just getting KO'd in a funny way. It's unfortunate. Pillow hands Aljo, yeah, Aljo really doesn't have much power at all, but he's a good fighter. I mean, I do actually think he's a good fighter. Really good wrestler. His jiu-jitsu is good. And I said this a lot. I know they'll never fight each other, but I said this a lot. I think one of the tougher fights for Merab is actually Aljamain Sterling because of his jiu-jitsu and because of his wrestling. But obviously, they're never going to fight, so we won't see that one. What do you think about the recent fight announcements from Dana White? What were the recent fight announcements? Was it? Are you talking about Fluffy and RDR? It's a great fight. I talked about it a lot in stream. I thought that should be the fight that should be made, and Dana White officially put that fight together. It's for the UFC Canada card, which is coming up not too far from now. I believe it's in November, something like that. Now, it was previously rumored that card would be Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Batista, but they decided to go in a different direction. I think it's actually a better fight, De Ridder versus Fluffy Hernandez, so I'm happy with that fight. I think it makes all the sense in the world. Whoever wins that fight, I think, should probably get a title shot in their next fight. But yeah, we'll see. Johnny Walker always get knocked down the most brutal way. Same with McKinney. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, listen, obviously Johnny as well as Terrence McKinney, they do have wins on their resume, and they are very athletic and powerful and physical and whatever. But when they do get caught, they get knocked out like very badly, like very, very badly, especially Johnny Walker. But even Terrence McKinney, when he got knocked out with the head kick against Ribovich, that was a pretty bad knockout as well. So, yeah, when these guys get knocked out, they get knocked out bad. Kid Low, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. UFC cooks in the fall with good cards. Yep. It's looking really good in the fall. And obviously, as I said, they just made the announcement of Fluffy RDR. That card is instantly made like 10 times better. It's a great main event for another card coming up in the fall. So cards are always much better in the fall for the UFC. And it seems like this year they are following suit, and they're continuing with a lot of these really good fights. So I'm excited about it. I love UFC around the fall time. Yep, me too. It's always really good. And this is just another example of it. All the fights that are announced between now and, I don't know, November or even December are really good, and I'm really excited about it. But also we have a couple of fight announcements that haven't even been made yet. We're assuming that it's going to be JDM versus Islam for the New York card, which is going to be really fun. It's definitely a card that or a fight at least, that I'm really excited about. We'll see what they do with Pantoja as well as Joshua Van. I'm assuming that's going to be made either in November or December. So that's going to be a really good fight, another really good fight that they can put together. And we'll see what happens. Maybe Ilia Topuria will also fight in December next against whoever. I guess we'll see. If it's Armin or Patty or Gaethje, we'll see what they decide to do. What does Hill need to get back to winning? I think for Jamal, I think he should probably move to the heavyweight division. I think that makes the most sense for him. Now, are there fights that he can win at light heavyweight? Yeah, probably. Jamal Hill currently is number 6. Could he beat Alexander Rakic? I actually think he could. I know Rakic has a fight booked already, but I think Jamal Hill could beat Rakic if he can get on that inside and land a big left hand. Rakic's chin is not great, but does Jamal Hill beat Rakic? I don't know, but could he? Yes. Are there some other guys at the weight class he can beat? Like, could he beat Nikita Krylov? Yeah, I think Jamal Hill would beat Krylov. Could he beat Johnny Walker? Yeah, he already did, but I think he'd beat him again. Could he beat Alonzo Menafield? Yeah, I do think he could as well. But for Jamal Hill, I think the place that makes the most sense for him would be moving to the heavyweight division. He'll be faster than everybody at that weight class. He has already shown a really good chin, and he has shown to be very, very durable at light heavyweight. And moving up to heavyweight, I don't think it's going to be that big of a concern for him. And I just think there's a lot of guys I would favor him over at the heavyweight division. So I think that's probably what he should do, because even at light heavyweight, some of those guys that I mentioned that he could beat, even if he beat all those guys, the current champion in Uncle Ive, I don't really think Jamal Hill is going to get to a point where he's going to be able to fight for the belt. And if somehow Alex Pereira became the champ again, I don't think they're going to rebook Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira. I don't think there's much interest in that. So for Jamal, I think it makes the most sense for him to move up to the heavyweight division. I think that's the answer for almost everybody at light heavyweight that is not having that much success. Just move up. Move up to the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is essentially the worst it's ever been, or close to it. And if you have good power, and if you're somewhat durable, I think it makes a lot of sense. And Jamal Hill is definitely There's a lot of good fights in the fall. Alex Pereira versus Magomed, Fluffy RDR, Du Bronx versus Fazeev, and Holland versus Malott. Yep, that was just a random one that they threw in there, Holland versus Malott, but I like the fight. It's cool. It's cool. Uh, I would love Hill versus Derek Lewis. Yeah, that'd be an interesting fight to put together. But I think for Derek Lewis, most likely what they're going to try to do is they honestly may try to push him again just because he has that fan-friendly style. So I wouldn't be surprised if for Derek Lewis, his next fight is against somebody ahead of him in the rankings. Actually, I think it probably would be. So we'll see what they do for Derek Lewis. I kind of think in the back of their mind they do want Derek Lewis to get another title shot versus Tom Aspinall because, I mean, I've said it a bunch of times. I actually think Derek Lewis probably has the best chance against Tom, not because he's anywhere close to him in skill level, but just because he hits so hard. And whenever you have Derek Lewis fight, he can always find a knockout, which he's done so many times. So, who you got for Stevens and Perry? What is that? That's in BKFC, I'm assuming. They fought before already, right? In BKFC, and or maybe not. I don't know. But I'll lean with Mike Perry. He's done a really good job over there. He's had a lot of success. I know in the UFC as well as when he boxed Jake Paul, it didn't really go his way, but in BKFC he's looked really good. So I'll stick with him. And for Jeremy Stevens, he's also looked really good at BKFC. So it's a fun fight to put together. But I believe they fought before. I don't remember who won. Let me know. But yeah. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome back to the stream. I believe Hill can beat Derek. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he could. Would I favor him over Derek Lewis? Honestly, probably not. Probably not. I think it'd be very close. Jamal Hill has shown really good durability, but if you get hit by one shot from Derek Lewis, it'll be tough. In a 5-round fight, I think it'll be tough for Jamal Hill to survive, but could he win? Yeah. How does Jake Paul go from possibly fighting? Dude, honestly, it's hilarious. It is hilarious because, yeah, there's a lot of rumors about him fighting Joshua, and it seemed like it was going to happen. And now all of a sudden he's fighting Tank, who's a 135er. Interesting, to say the least. But I guess out of the two guys, this was definitely the safer option for Jake Paul, and he decided to fight Tank Davis. I still think he probably loses to Tank, but this is a significant weight difference between these two guys. I know Logan and Floyd fought a significant weight difference. I mean, Floyd definitely won that fight. I know it was an exhibition, so I don't think they announced the winner. Maybe it'll be a similar thing here. Yeah, it's weird. It's a clown show, and it's just another example of it. If Jake Paul knocks out Tank Davis, does that really mean anything? I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be impressive. Tank is obviously a really good boxer, but at the same time, Jake is literally like 60 pounds heavier than Tank is. But with all that being said, I'm assuming Tank would win the fight. But it is an exhibition, so are they not going to announce a winner? I don't really know how that's going to go. But very odd. Tom will be too smart for Derek Lewis. Yeah, most likely. I would probably say there's, I don't know, 85% chance, maybe a 90% chance that Tom Aspinall wins. He is better everywhere than Derek Lewis, but as I said before, the one thing about Derek Lewis is he can land one big left hook or one big right hand, and all of a sudden your lights are completely out and Derek Lewis is celebrating. So that's really the reason why I think Derek Lewis has the best chance against Tom Aspinall as compared to anybody else. Maybe Jailton Almeida is another one of those guys, but as I said multiple times, I do favor Tom Aspinall against everybody in the heavyweight division at this point. That's really why we need more new blood at the heavyweight division. I know Justin Tafa is fighting a new heavyweight coming over from LFA, I believe. So we'll see how he looks. But we desperately need new blood at the heavyweight division. I didn't end up watching the fight, but I saw that the 49ers guy won. He won via finish. From the Contender Series, Hoyt, or whatever his name is, kind of gave, in my opinion, a little bit of a cheesy presser or whatever, post-fight interview. But hopefully he's good. He's going for the Colby role, so we'll see how he does. But I didn't watch the fight, so I don't know how good he actually looked. I just know he got a finish and he got a contract, obviously. But yeah. But yeah, so in other news, one other thing that I wanted to touch upon is this. Where was it? It was about Islam Makhachev saying that he wants to fight against Ilia Topuria, which is a good thing. I mean, obviously that's what the fight we want to see. Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. It just it's kind of annoying that Islam moved up, I guess. I mean, he deserves to move up, so whatever. But I would have liked to see Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria at 155, but it seems like there's still hope for that fight. Both guys really want it. Ilia really wants it, and it seems like Islam also wants the fight, so we might still see it. But if you see it, it seems like it's probably going to be at 170, which is still a great fight. He's the best on the UFC. Let's go. All right, yeah. Take a look. Jake fought at heavyweight. Now he's fighting. Yeah, I don't know. Very, very interesting. Yeah, it just seems like for both of these guys, they're just trying to look for talking about Jake and Logan. I mean, Logan doesn't even box, but in the couple times that he did, they're just looking for the biggest names and the easiest fights for themselves. Not saying Tank is an easy fight for Jake. I don't think so. Even though the weight difference is so significant, I mean, it's not even close. The technique between him and Jake Paul, obviously. But, I mean, Jake has a big advantage in terms of the weight. So there's always has to be some sort of an advantage, whether it's age, whether it's size, or whether it's timing. It just seems like there's always an advantage for either Jake or Logan when he boxes once every 5 years. So, yeah, that's what they're going with, and it's interesting. I mean, will I be watching? Honestly, I probably will be watching. So I'll see the clown show. It's going to be on Friday of, I don't know when, September, November, something like that. And it is on Netflix, which I do like. I don't have to pay for it or anything. I would never pay for it anyway, but since it's free and since it's on a Friday, there's probably going to be nothing else going on in terms of fights or anything on that day. I'll probably end up watching it, but we'll see. I would have loved to see Lopez versus Topuria. Yeah, I would have liked to as well. I mean, I think it could have been a fun fight, but I do think Topuria probably beats Lopez worse than what Alexander Volkanovski was able to do to Lopez. Listen, I do think Lopez is good, and I know I've gone against him in a couple of my predictions. Him against Gene Silva, as well as him against Volkanovski. I just think the thing about Diego Lopez is he is good on the ground. He has great jiu-jitsu. On the feet, he does have solid striking, but he's not the most technical guy in the world. Really what Diego Lopez does well, and a big reason for why he's been so successful thus far, is due to the fact that he kind of just overwhelms a lot of his opponents by throwing boxing combinations, and he is really powerful and durable for that weight class. So if he's able to land one big shot on you, a lot of times he is able to find a finish. And I think that's what we've seen in a lot of his victories, actually. But against Volkanovski, I thought Volkanovski would be too smart for that. Would be able to avoid a lot of shots, and he was able to. He took one shot where he got dropped, but outside of that, Volkanovski put on a flawless performance. And going into this fight between Lopez and Gene Silva, I think Gene is going to be able to eat any of the shots coming back his way from Lopez, as well as him just being a lot more technical than Diego is. And I think in the end, Gene will probably find a finish, or at the very worst, he'll find a decision victory, a dominant decision victory against Lopez. But yeah, nothing against Lopez. I think he's really good. I loved him on his come up. I just think he needs to be a little bit more technical to become an elite fighter at 145, personally. Who do you think would have won between Lopez and Topuria? I think Topuria. I think Topuria probably knocks him out. Probably not in the first round. I mean, Lopez has shown a really good chin at the weight class. So I probably think Topuria would have knocked out Diego Lopez probably within the first 3 rounds, I'll say. But I think he would have won regardless. If he somehow wasn't able to knock out Lopez, I think he would eventually find some sort of a decision. Maybe even probably not submission. It would either be KO or decision for Topuria, but I'm very confident Topuria would have won. Lopez probably the only guy who matched up with Topuria's power. I don't know. He has good power. I don't think it's the same as Topuria's. Actually, I actually don't think so at all. He has good power, but it's not the same as Topuria. I believe Lopez is going to beat Gene Silva. We'll see. I'm definitely in the other camp. I think Gene Silva is going to beat Lopez. I'm actually very confident in that, but I've been wrong a bunch of times before. So we'll see how that fight plays out. But basically, how I see the fight playing out is, I think early on, yes, Diego Lopez is dangerous, and maybe he'll land a couple shots on Gene. I just think Gene is a little bit too physical, so I think he can take some of the shots that Gene throws his way, even if Lopez lands clean on Silva. But at the same time, I just think Gene Silva is a lot more technical than Lopez is, and he'll be able to angle change effectively, land some nice counter shots on Diego Lopez, and also he hits really hard. So I do think I do think Gene Silva will be able to get the victory in the end, whether it's by KO or whether it's by decision. I guess we'll see. But I do think he's going to land a lot of shots on Diego Lopez. I kind of talked about it before, but for Gene Silva, I see him in a similar light, honestly, to how I saw Topuria. Now, is he as good as Topuria? Probably not. But one thing that I will say is I do think he is kind of inevitable at 145. I think he is going to be a champion sooner than later. I think he beats, as I said, Diego Lopez, and after that, he'll probably get a title shot against Volkanovski if he's still around, or maybe against Laurel Murphy, or maybe against Movsar. We'll see how it all plays out, but all those guys that I mentioned, I think Gene Silva probably beats. Now, maybe I'm overrating him. We'll see. Maybe I'm glazing, but I do think I've seen a lot of really impressive things from Gene Silva. Lopez is taller than Topuria. Yeah, but so is Charles Oliveira. It doesn't really matter. I'll be at UFC Noche. I hope Lopez wins, but I think Gene will win. Let's go, bro. Yeah. The main event is going to be really good. I hope they do add some more fights to the card. I saw they added Rosas to the card, so that'll be fun. Maybe they'll add some other guys before the card starts. I don't know. I don't know if they're done or not, but regardless, going to a UFC event is always fun. And I talk about this all the time, even when we watch, Apex cards that don't look great on paper. It's MMA. I mean, we all love the sport, and the reason why we love the sport is at any point in time, something crazy could happen, a crazy finish, a crazy knockout, a big comeback, or whatever. So even though on paper Noche is not great, I mean, to say the least, there still is a chance or a possibility that we see some really good fights on that card. So that's pretty cool that you're going to it. And obviously, as I said, the main event is going to be really fun. The news would be Gene Silva. All right, yeah, I'll take a look. I will take a look. Gene throws a lot of straight shots versus Diego hooks. Yeah, yep. And as they always say, straight shots always beat looping shots. So it could be a danger zone for sure for Lopez, but we'll see. I mean, listen, I really do like Diego Lopez. I'm not trying to act like I don't. He's a really exciting fighter. He's really dangerous on the feet as well as on the ground, and we'll see how he looks in this fight. I just personally think Gene Silva, because he's very physical and because he's a lot more technical, in my opinion, than Diego Lopez, I think he has a pretty big advantage here. But we shall see. I think that Holloway's out for the rest of the year. Yeah. He's out for the rest of the year. He needs some time off. I think he had like some sort of a hand injury or whatever it was. But he'll be back early next year. In terms of fights they could have put together, I guess they could have put together Max versus Charles for that UFC Rio card, which would have been fun. But I think as a Charles fan, I'm happy they didn't do that fight, at least this quickly, coming off his knockout. So I don't know. But I don't know. I think Max is probably fine. You would like to see Max fight. He's always a really exciting fighter to watch. But at the weight class, I think there's still a lot of options for Max Holloway. And I think he's probably, depending on who the champion is, if it's Topuria, it's a different story. But if it's anybody else besides Topuria, I think Max probably could get a title shot with one, maybe two more wins. And yeah, so he's not that far away. And it would be kind of crazy. I mean, it's very realistic in my opinion, but it would be kind of crazy if Max Holloway could somehow find himself his way into a title shot at 155 after having all the success he did at 145. But we'll see. I got Charles beating Fiziev. Yeah, I agree. I do as well. I know Charles is coming back really early, and I know a lot of people have a lot of concerns with that. I just don't think that Fiziev is going to be the guy that, knocks Charles out. I could be wrong. His kicks are very powerful and dangerous, so that's something Charles is going to need to worry about. But usually what Charles does out there is he kind of crashes in, he gets into the clinch, looks for takedowns, lands big elbows in the clinch, big knees. And in that area, it's an area where Charles excels, and it's an area where Fiziev struggles with. So I think in that sort of area, if the fight is held there, which I do believe it will be, I think Charles will have a lot of success. And Fiziev, has powerful kicks, but in terms of his punches, he's not the most powerful guy at 155, unfortunately. That's a big reason why I think he should move down. Joe, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Would you rather girl cheat on you? I don't know. Probably Kayla Harrison, maybe. I don't know. Now Holloway Oliveira would have been. Yeah, I could see that. I agree. Probably that would be a pay-per-view co-main event, but I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, they do put together really good fights for arena for arena fight night cards. I mean, even Charles Oliveira versus maybe it's not to the same level of Charles versus Max, but still, Charles versus Fiziev is a really good fight, and that's at a main event of a fight night. Lopez versus Gene Silva is a really good fight, and it's a main event of a fight night. Olberg versus Dominic Reyes, obviously not the same level of the other guys, but still, there's title implications there, and that's the main event of a fight night. RDR versus Fluffy Hernandez is a huge fight, and that's the main event of a fight night. So I think most likely you're probably right. It probably would be Holloway versus Oliveira for the co-main of a pay-per-view, but it's not completely out of the question that it could be for a main event of a fight night in an arena. Obviously not in the Apex, but in an arena. I just don't see what threats. The threats that he would give to Bronx would be at range. At range, Fiziev has great kicks, as I said, and if he can land a big head kick on Charles Oliveira, he can put him out for sure, especially considering that Oliveira is coming back pretty quickly after getting finished not too long ago. But yeah. But that's really the threat. In close, which is kind of where I think the fight is going to play out. In close, I think Charles is probably going to be fine, but yeah, we'll see. How's that? Let's go. Ilya versus Islam. Who you got if it ever happens? I favor Islam 170, but I think it's 50-50. Yeah, I think you're probably spot on. At 170, I think I favor Islam. At 155, I actually definitely favor Ilya, in my opinion. Because at 155, Islam was cutting a lot of weight. So I do think at that weight class, it would be an advantage for Topuria. I mean, his shots would be even more effective than they would be at 170 because Islam would be cutting a lot of weight. And in terms of the wrestling, I think Ilya probably could defend some of those takedowns at that lower weight class. But at 170, with Islam being so much more powerful, in terms of striking, yes, but most importantly, in terms of his shots, in terms of his wrestling, I do think it would be a pretty difficult fight for Ilya Topuria. So yeah, slightly favor Islam at 170. At 155, I would favor Ilya, in my opinion. And as I said, I mean, Islam just talked about it today that he wants the fight to happen. So I'm hoping they put it together eventually, but we need to see Islam win against JDM, and I think we need to see Ilya win against whoever he fights next. And if both of those things happen, I think we could see the fight. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. What's up? What's going on? I'm very excited for the All-Asian. Let's go. Let's go. It should be good. It's actually a pretty good card. The only thing that I will say that I'm not that happy about is the timing of it, but the card's pretty good. Holloway, Bronx are way bigger names than Fluffy R's. Yeah, I agree. But in terms of how big the fight is, I think Fluffy versus RDR is a huge fight. I mean, there's title implications. Whoever wins that fight's getting a title shot. Between Holloway and Bronx, you can't really say the same. So in terms of meaning, I actually think Fluffy versus RDR is more meaningful. But in terms of popularity, obviously it's not close. Holloway and Bronx are significantly bigger stars than Fluffy versus RDR. I favor Islam at both weight classes. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think at 155 it might be a tough fight for him, but we'll see. I saw that cameras person again. Looks like unbelievable. We got a lot of impersonators here, but sorry, 1 second, boys. Yeah, there's a couple I don't really care. Let's go. Is Yuri fighting soon? Yeah, Yuri's fighting in October. He's fighting on 320. Yeah, UFC 320. Him against Khalil Roundtree. It's a great fight. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's, in my opinion, it's going to be almost a guaranteed banger fight. I think whoever lands first is probably going to find the finish. Both these guys hit really hard. They both are really exciting fighters, and it's just a perfect fight to make, in my opinion. And I think the winner of that fight has a chance to get a title shot next. I think if Yuri beats Roundtree and Ankalaev beats Pereira, I think Yuri probably will get the title shot next. And if Roundtree beats Yuri, regardless of who wins the main event, actually, that's not true. If Roundtree beats Yuri and Ankalaev beats Pereira, I think Roundtree probably gets the next title shot as well. So yeah, definitely a fight with a lot of meaning, definitely a fun fight, and definitely excited to see it. coming up. When's the date on that one? It's October 4th. So that's going to be a great card. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Let's go. Let's go. I believe Islam gets to four in both weight classes, lightweight and everyone. Yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I just hope that fight does get put together between those two boys. It's been a fight we've been wanting to see forever. It seemed like there was a chance that we could have seen it if Bilal just beat JDM. He didn't beat JDM, and now it became a little bit more difficult, but I think we could still see it. Roundtree uppercut to Smith. Yeah, yeah. Roundtree's good. He's good. He's made significant improvements throughout his career. His striking is really good. He's really fast. We saw him give Alex Pereira a lot of problems. I know in the end he lost, but still, he gave Pereira a lot of problems in that fight. I personally think Roundtree is really good, and between him and Yuri, I know a lot of people are siding with Yuri, but honestly, at this point, I might be slightly siding with Roundtree. I think he's very good. He's going to be faster than Yuri for sure. He's probably going to be more technical than Yuri is. I mean, Yuri's not the most technical guy, but he doesn't really have to be technical. So we'll see how that fight plans out. But yeah, honestly, very close to a 50-50 fight for me, although I know a lot of people are siding with Yuri. If Pereira wins, who does he fight next? If Pereira wins, I think there is a real chance he moves up to heavyweight. Because if he wins at his current weight class, the number one contender fight at this point is probably Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree, and he beat both of those guys already. So I don't think there's much interest there for Alex. Now, obviously, you do have Olberg and Dominic Reyes fighting as well in somewhat of a number one contender fight. And I guess Alex could fight the winner of that fight. He hasn't fought either one of those guys before. But for Carlos Olberg and even for Dominic Reyes, although it would be a great story for Dominic Reyes, I don't think I don't know. I don't think that Alex would have that much interest in fighting any one of those guys. But we shall see. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Bro, not the thumbnail? What do you mean? You don't like my thumbnail? Unbelievable. But welcome to the stream, bro. So we're gonna get Aspinall versus Pereira. I don't think it's a guarantee. Well, assuming that Pereira beats Ankalaev, but I think that is a big if. I lean with Ankalaev beating Pereira, but assuming that Pereira does beat Ankalaev, I do think he'll move up to heavyweight, and I do think there is a chance that we could see Pereira fight a number one contender fight first before he fights Tom, or maybe they just give him Tom right away. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't know. I believe Alex loses. Yeah, me too. I think he probably loses again as well. I think he'll probably make some adjustments. He'll probably be a little bit more aggressive. He did show really good ability to stop the takedowns. Now, I think there's a common misconception about Ankalaev that he's a really good wrestler. I don't think he is, actually. Sorry, 1 second. But yeah, I don't think he's a great wrestler, so I do think Pereira is going to be able to stop a lot of the takedowns again this time. Maybe Ankalaev will find a takedown or two in this fight, but for the most part, I think Alex probably will be fine in that department. It's the reason why I probably would lean with Ankalaev again in this fight is if Alex does open up a little bit more than he did in his last fight. I do think there'll be more opportunities for counters because what Ankalaev does is he's a really good counter striker, and if Pereira opens himself up, obviously there's going to be more openings and more opportunities for a counter shot. So that's the real danger this time around for Pereira, I think. But he has to be more aggressive. Alex does, because when he was not aggressive in his last fight, we saw what happened. It was kind of a boring decision victory for Ankalaev. So he's going to have to make some sort of adjustment here. Alex is huge right now. Yeah, he's big. Yeah, it's crazy because initially when he was fighting at 185, it seemed like he was huge for the weight class. Then he moved up to 180, not to 185. Then he moved up to light heavyweight. And it seems like he's even big for this weight class. And it seems like he's a heavyweight at this point in terms of what he's walking around at, or pretty close to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Alex eventually made the jump up to the heavyweight division. I think with a win, very likely he does it. And with a loss, it could still happen as well. The only thing I will say is if Alex Pereira does lose, he may consider retirement just because he's done a lot already in the UFC as well as kickboxing. And yeah, I do believe he wants to be a 3-division champ. But if he loses once again to Ankalaev, I think there is a chance that he retires. But We'll see. We'll see. Alex has done a lot of great things for the company. He saved a lot of cards. He always puts on exciting fights and great performances. So I would love to see Alex Pereira continue to fight. I would personally love to see him beat Ankalaev, but at this point, I don't favor him to do that. So we'll see. That card in general is going to give us a lot of answers. UFC 320. Between Pereira and Ankalaev. Obviously, we'll know the winner of that and the state of the light heavyweight division going forward, as well as Yuri versus Roundtree. Obviously, there's a lot of title implications there, specifically if Magomed Ankalaev wins. And then from Merab, Corey Sandhagen, that's also going to be a solid fight. I think Merab takes it relatively handedly, in my opinion, but it should be a fun fight. Obviously, you have Antiba Gutier on the card as well, so he's a really exciting prospect. I talked about him a lot on my channel. I think this guy's really good. I think he's shown great technical ability. I think he showed a great ability to be super physical, hits really hard, very explosive, and I think he's going to be good. And this one versus Aussie Diaz, he'll probably find a victory. So that card in general, I think is pretty good. I will answer a lot of questions. I would like to get a job for the UFC building. Yeah, that'd be sick. I would love to work for the UFC in general. Obviously there's a lot of backdoor things that maybe we don't think about or whatever that, might not be as fun as we may think, but a lot of jobs or potential jobs working for the UFC as a matchmaker or whatever, just day-to-day things for the company, even a social media team member for the company. It just seems like a really fun job, but I'm assuming it's probably pretty difficult to work for the company, but yeah, would be really, really cool to do. I know that guy, I don't know his name or anything, but I remember a guy won some sort of a contest and he became a matchmaker. I don't know if he's still a matchmaker or maybe it was just a temporary thing, but I know one guy was a matchmaker for a little bit, some random guy, so good for him. And I don't know if he still is a matchmaker, but if he is, good for him. Magomed had Alex fans coping super hard after beat him. Yeah, listen, it was legitimately a kind of a close fight. Magomed clearly won, no question about it, but it was somewhat of a close fight just because there's not a lot that happened. Obviously, the second round, I believe it was, or was it the first round, where Magomed dropped Alex, clear Magomed round, and there was two other rounds where he had control time over Alex. But if we're being honest, it's not like it was a domination from Magomed Ankalaev or anything like that. It was kind of a close fight. Definitely a Ankalaev win, but there was just not that much action going on in most of the rounds outside of that one time where Ankalaev landed a big shot on Alex. Yeah, I don't know. It is funny. Aljo is in ridiculous shape. He's always been in great shape. And Brian Ortega seems like he doesn't care that much about being in good shape. He just figures it out and is able to beat some guys. But yeah, it is kind of weird how that plays out. But it just I don't know. I don't know. Ortega just has a lot of issues cutting weight, it seems, especially as his career has progressed and he's gotten older. I bet if I ran into him, I can convince him to chop. Let's go, Brett. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I don't think it was a close fight. You don't think so? All right. I thought it probably was. Is Blachowicz fighting anytime soon? No, I don't think so. It's very unfortunate for Blachowicz, honestly, just because I really thought that he beat Carlos Ulberg. I really thought that he beat Carlos Ulberg, but they decided to give it to Ulberg. And if they gave it to Blachowicz in that fight, Blachowicz could be in a number one contender fight at this point. But since they give it to Carlos Ulberg, Blachowicz is kind of at a point right now where he's most likely not going to get a title shot anytime soon or ever. He is 41, 42. I think he's 41 at this point, so he doesn't have that much more time, or he might be 42. He doesn't have that much time left in the UFC in general, and especially at the weight class. So I don't know who they're going to give him next. It seems like he's kind of just going to fight just to fight. I don't think there's any sort of title implications at this point for him anytime soon. He'll need to get probably 2 or maybe 3 wins before he would even be considered for a title shot. And at this point, considering how old he is, could he even beat 3 guys at the weight class? I don't know. But even if he does, by the time he beat 3 guys in a row, let's just say if he did, he's going to be 43 or 44. It's just going to be too late in his career. I just don't think he has enough time to get another title shot legitimately. He could beat Magomed. Yeah, I mean, he was close in the first fight for sure, but I also thought Magomed like fought very stupidly, um, just kind of standing with Blachowicz. But as soon as Magomed decided to grapple, he showed that he had a huge advantage in the grappling. So if they fought again, I do think Magomed probably would make the adjustment. I think he would probably wrestle more in the fight, and I think it wouldn't be as close as it was the first time. I thought Magomed is probably the better fighter out of him and Blachowicz. It's just the thing is his IQ is like very low at times. So I think that's probably the reason why that fight was close and turned out to be a draw. But in a rematch, I personally think Magomed would win it. Magomed beat Allen where he usually shines at this on the feet. He didn't fear Alex. Yeah, I mean that is true for sure. I mean he did have a decent amount of success on the feet, but outside of the one time where you hurt him, I mean if we're gonna be honest, a lot of most of the fight was in the clinch. And it was a good job by Magomed because if you're able to get it to the clinch, you're winning. It wasn't a lot of damage or anything like that, but you are winning. And for Alex, yeah, he was able to stop all the takedowns, but he wasn't able to get off the cage. That's something that I talk about all the time. It's a good job to stop takedowns, especially for some of these kickboxers or boxers have that sort of background. But it's not enough just to stop takedowns. You also have to get off the cage, or else you're gonna run into some of these fights like Alex versus Magomed or like Batista versus Aldo or even Merab versus Aldo, where they're able to stop takedowns, but they're not able to get off the fence. And in the end, they're going to give it to the guy who is initiating the clinch situations because in those situations, obviously, you're winning the fight. So Alex definitely does need to make some adjustments going into the next fight. But in terms of the feet, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he did have success for sure. Magomed did on the feet. He is a really good striker. I think he's a better striker than people give him credit for. But to act like he was absolutely dominating or piecing up Alex on the feet, I think is just untrue in my opinion. I am an Alex fan. Maybe I'm coping, but I just think there wasn't that much action in the fight. But yeah. What else we got? We got Jack Jenkins on the UFC Perth card. I saw some additions to that Perth card. It seems like it's going to be a good one. Another addition to it is Louis Sutherland. That's the heavyweight prospect that I was telling you guys about against Justin Tafa. Sutherland is a guy who's, I believe, a champion in LFA. So it's another guy that they're adding to the heavyweight division. It does seem like the UFC is trying to put this fight together, or not put the fight together, but they are trying to get more guys, heavyweight prospects in that weight class. I think they realize that they have a little bit of an issue at that weight class, and they're trying to resolve it, which is a good thing. But it's easier said than done, for sure. Even though Roundtree lost, he made Alex. Yeah, you're right. It was a close fight. Brian, I'm glad you asked Ortega. I saw that meme going around where it was like when my girl asked me why I'm up at 2 a.m. and it was the Brian Ortega thing. He's like, I'm glad you asked. that clip is honestly hilarious. That's interesting. Brian Battle is staying active. Brian Battle is set to make his dirty boxing debut. What the fuck is dirty boxing? I actually don't even know what that is. But all right, he's getting back into it. Also, since the last time we talked, Brian Battle was cut. I think it's justified. I personally thought he wouldn't get cut. I thought he'd get one more opportunity. They decided to cut him. It's completely justified, though. He's missed weight, like 3 times total? But he's missed weight back-to-back times, and obviously the UFC hates that, especially considering that Battle moved up in weight and missed weight again. Kind of crazy. But yeah, they decided to cut him. I think it's probably justified, and I guess he's doing other stuff, so good for him. It is kind of crazy to miss weight, though, multiple times. Mike Perry owns Dirty Boxing. What is it, just like regular boxing, or is it like bare knuckle, or what is it? Ortega been hanging out with Nate Diaz. Weight cutting stupid. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, usually for most of these cards, we see guys cut weight easily, or maybe not easily, but they cut weight. But it seems like as of late, there's been a couple of examples of guys that are just struggling to cut weight, and either the fight gets canceled, like Brian Ortega, or not Brian Ortega, like what's his face, Brian Battle, or the fight gets moved to a catch weight like Brian Ortega. Kelvin Gastelum was also another guy who just continuously missed weight. Um, yeah, it seems like for certain guys, it's just a big problem for them. They just can't make weight. It's just it's kind of just unfortunate. But yeah, weight cutting is stupid. Yeah, yeah. Dirty boxing is with smaller blows and elbows and some ground and pound. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Have you guys watched any of their events? I haven't watched it. I didn't even hear about it before now. Um, but yeah, that could be interesting. Also, by the way, did you guys watch Road to the UFC today? I heard there were some decent fights on the card. It's kind of weird to me. I guess they want more people to watch it, so they're putting actual UFC fighters on the card. It kind of makes no sense, in my opinion. But there are really UFC fighters on the card. But I don't know. It's interesting, I guess. I didn't watch it, but heard some decent results. One other thing that I saw was um, is the PFL card yesterday. I didn't watch it personally, but I saw the Fabian Edwards head kick literally 3 years after Leon got his head kick against Kamaru, which is pretty cool. It seems like 3 weeks in a row. I haven't watched any of the cards, so I guess it's difficult for me to say. But based on what I've been hearing about the cards from some of you guys in chat, as well as watching some of the highlights, it seems like 3 weeks in a row, PFL has actually been pretty good. And I've been a guy that's been trashing PFL forever. So if they're finally getting it together, I mean, good. I mean, it's having more MMA organizations out there, I think, is probably a good thing, and especially if PFL is getting their act together and putting on fun cards. It's just it's a benefit for the fans. We just have other options to go to and more cards that we can watch, as PFL cards are usually on Fridays. So it's pretty cool. And also the Dubai card that they're putting on not too long from now, I think is also a really good card as well. So honestly, some pretty decent things going on at PFL, I would say. Do you think Till will beat Rockhold? Yeah, I do. I think Darren Till has honestly done a great job at finding a little bit of a niche for himself. He's kind of fighting guys that are nowhere near his skill level, in my opinion, in terms of the boxing. But he's also main eventing a lot of cards and getting paid a ton of money while doing so. I think he beats Rockhold. Rockhold has never been known to be a boxer, obviously, and his chin is not good, especially at this point. Him getting older, his chin's going to be even worse. So I think Till probably puts Rockhold out. But as I said, I think Till is honestly doing a great thing for himself, at least, making a ton of money and fighting not so high level competition, in my opinion. And if he ever fights any of those YouTuber boxers that they have, like a KSI or somebody, I don't know what KSI weighs or whatever, but if they ever do a Darren Till versus KSI or Darren Till versus Jake Paul or something, I don't know. I think it would make Till a ton of money. So I kind of respect what he's doing. I've seen clips of dirty boxing during Texas tournament. Let's go. Let's go. The fact that Yoel is still fighting is crazy. And he's still looking good. How old is he? Like 50? Close to it? It's crazy. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Ilya Islam is not 50-50. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the weight class, in my personal opinion. I think at 155, I think I favor Ilya. At 170, I think it's close. I may favor Islam, honestly, at the weight class. I think the weight class actually makes a huge difference. But at this point, if they were to make the fight, Ilya versus Islam, I think it probably will be at 170. There's a chance, I guess it could be 155, but most likely, I think it'll be at 170. So tougher fight at that weight class for Ilya, in my opinion, but we'll see how it plays out. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Hey, how to be join MMA? What do you mean? If you want to, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but I am streaming on 3 different platforms on Kick, obviously, as you're watching, on YouTube, as well as Twitch. So if you want to watch me on any other platform or watch some of my videos, post on YouTube. I post 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Be sure to check me out on there. But yeah, it isn't 50-50. It's not 50-50. You watching the card live tomorrow? Probably not. Well, I probably will watch some of the ending of the card. So, yeah, probably. I probably will be watching a little bit of it because I do want to try to watch the Charles Johnson fight versus Loner Kavanaugh. That's a fight I really want to watch. Other fights that I want to watch in the card is honestly most of the main card. I do want to watch the main event. I want to watch Eljo versus Ortega. I want to watch Sergey versus Waldo. I do want to watch Borjas versus Sumadarji. Now, the fight before that, I don't care for that much, but if I'm going to watch Loner Kavanaugh versus Charles Johnson, I guess I'll be up anyway. So we'll see. I mean, there are a lot of fights that I do want to watch. I think the card is good. I think it's really good. But yeah, just the timing of it kind of sucks. Yes, 157. LA wins 170. Is on about 155. And gives yeah, it is possible. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. Ilya is honestly just that good. I do agree with you on that. The weight class is a huge factor in this one. I favor Taporia both weight classes. I think you just said you thought Islam would win at both weight classes. Do you think Sandhagen wins? No, I don't actually. I really don't. I know a lot of people are talking about like a leg lock or something like that Corey could find against Merab. In my opinion, I don't think that's very likely at all. I think probably how the fight plays out is Merab takes down Corey. By the third round, Corey starts to gas out a little bit. Maybe not to the extent of an Umar or something like that, but I think he'll start to gas out a little bit. Merab kind of just has that effect on everybody. And yeah, as the fight goes on, takedowns are just going to be easier for Merab. And I think he'll probably find a decision victory here. Maybe finds a submission, possibly, but most likely a decision victory for Merab in this one. I know this is probably not that popular, but I thought Sean probably had one of the better chances against Merab just because he had one-shot KO power. But yeah, I don't know. For Corey, he really doesn't hit hard at all. Yes, he has great kicks and powerful kicks. If he's able to land a spinning wheel kick or something like that, Merab, yeah, of course you can find a finish on him, but I just don't think it's super likely that that'll happen. Just because I think Merab is going to be pressuring a lot of the fight, shooting him for takedowns, so he's not going to leave an opportunity for Corey to throw something crazy like that, like a spinning wheel kick. So I have Merab by decision. I'm pretty confident that's how it's going to play out. But we shall see. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Are you watching Perry versus? When is that? Is that fight soon? I'm assuming you're not the first guy that said it. When is that fight? Depending on when it is, I'd watch it. It's probably going to be a fun one. And this is a rematch, right? They have fought before, Perry and Stevens. I thought they did. I meant Islam. Oh yeah. But yeah, depending on when that fight is, I'd probably watch it. Should be a good one. Rufy says he's going to make easy work of BSD. Then he wants to make a 5-round turnaround against Justin Gaethje or Dan Hooker in UFC Rio in October in Brazil. Gaethje's not going to take that fight. Will Hooker take that fight? Maybe. Hooker versus Rufy. If Rufy beats BSD, especially via finish, that'd be a great fight for UFC Rio. That UFC Rio card might be really good. We'll see. They're not done with the card yet, and we'll see what else they're able to add to the card. But that card could be really good. I shall say. October 4th. Oh, October 4th. Yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. Is there any sort of UFC? Wait, October 4th. That's the UFC 320. Yeah, it's UFC 320. I might not be watching that actually. I probably won't. I'll probably watch the UFC card, but I'll watch highlights afterwards. Or if somehow the cards don't overlap in terms of time, then I'll watch it. But what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. BKFC is October 4th, not a rematch. They both fought Edwin Arrows. Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. All right. Yeah, the UFC card is the same day, and I do prefer to watch the UFC card as opposed to the BKFC. So I'm probably just going to be watching that one. But as I said, I might watch the highlights or something like that. It's a fun fight. I talked about this before, but I think BKFC is honestly doing a pretty good thing over there. They're putting on pretty fun cards. The crowds are usually pretty good. And a lot of these fights are turning out to be pretty good. So good things over there for BKFC. And so it was honestly, I mean, I've only watched it a couple times, but every time that I have watched it, it's been pretty exciting. 1 second, boys. Sorry, fellas. You don't want to watch? Yeah, yeah. Oh, Frankie's on that card. Yeah, yeah. I saw that he was coming back. I don't know. I really don't get it. I know these guys are making more money and whatever. I guess that's the incentive for most of these guys, but I just don't get it, honestly. Like, if you've been KO'd as many times as Frankie has, especially in the tail half of of his UFC career, um, it's unfortunate. But especially considering that he's been retired for so long, just stay retired. I mean, how much money could he possibly be getting from the BKFC that it would make it worth it? I know he's a real estate agent. He's probably making decent money over there. He's probably made decent money from the UFC as well. Just stay retired and move on with your life and protect your brand a little bit. I also don't really want to see him get KO'd again live. So I don't know. It's unfortunate, but Frankie Edgar is not the only guy that's been like that. I talked about this a couple of times. So Bruno Silva, I mean, he's looked bad for a while. I thought he should have retired a while ago. But in his last fight, he literally cracked his skull. I wouldn't be shocked if he fights again in a different organization or something like that. It's just these guys, I guess, are fighters, and that's in their DNA, which I guess is respectable. But at a certain point, you're taking so much damage that it's just kind of ridiculous. I don't know. It doesn't make that much sense to me. Let's see the view, please. There's the view. Little Mexico. Yeah, it's a nice spot. Been having a good time. Been here for a little bit. But yeah, we just checked into the Airbnb yesterday, so I have good Wi-Fi and good opportunity to live stream a little bit during the day. So I'll let you know. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but I did post on my YouTube as well as X. I believe I did on X as well, saying that I was going to stream today. So I'll let you know when I'm going to stream. Obviously, I'm not home, so my streaming schedule is a little bit different than normal. But yeah, I may stream again tomorrow. Honestly, probably around the same time as what I'm doing today. And but yeah, it's not as bad as T. Ferguson. Yeah, it's such a ridiculous fight. Salt Poppy versus Tony Ferguson. Yeah, it's an insane fight. But yeah, that probably is worse. And is Tony going to get KO'd? Honestly, decent chance. But yeah, I don't know. Tony's actually like the best example or the worst example, I guess, of a guy that should have retired forever ago, but he just refuses to. He should have retired way before he did in the UFC. And at this point, even after he's done, he tried to fight in the GFL, which completely fell through. Now he's trying to fight Salt Poppy and Misfits Boxing. So it just seems like he's never going to stop fighting, which is really unfortunate for his brain, for his family, for himself. But I feel like guys that are in that sort of situation, maybe in their mind, they just don't want to stop fighting. That's all they've known, and that's what they want to continue to do. That's how they feed their families. That's what they enjoy doing, and they just never feel like they're washed up, and they just want to continue to fight. I'm sure that's their mindset, which is, I guess, makes sense from their perspective. But some of like their family members around them, or some of these other organizations, should really, be looking to convince Tony Ferguson or anybody else to stop fighting. But it just seems like these guys just continue to go until, they can't go anymore, or even if they can't go anymore, they continue to fight. It's just unfortunate, in my opinion. But what are you going to do? I can't believe Dylan Dennis got another fight. Yeah. Yeah, after that, listen, I'm not a big Logan Paul supporter at all, but that was such a weird fight from Dennis. He literally just tried not to get finished. He didn't do anything in that fight. And I get it, he's not a boxer, but if his route was like, oh, I'm not a boxer or whatever, and I didn't even get finished, so it's kind of a ridiculous route. If you're not a boxer, why would you box? I know he made a lot of money, but it's just, you can't use that excuse that you're not a boxer if you're willing to box. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, you got another opportunity. This time it's an MMA fight. It's, I believe, their first MMA fight in Misfits. I don't know what this is really going to do for Dylan Dennis's career, but I'm sure he'll make a decent amount of money, and I guess that's what it'll do for his career. But yeah, Tony Ferguson beat him at the worst time as possible. Yeah. Ridiculously long losing streaks at the end of it after being amazing fighters, and BJ Penn is in a weird spot at this point. It seems like he's got CTE or some other drug-related issues going on with him. I kind of hope Tony doesn't get to that point, but with all the damage he's been taking and continuing to take against potentially Salt Poppy, who knows? Imagine if Tony goes in there and just knocks out Salt Poppy. That'd be hilarious, actually. But I'm assuming he'll probably get knocked out or at least take a lot of damage. Ferguson, yeah, the UFC is not resigning this guy. I'm sure if it was ever offered, Ferguson would resign with the UFC, but it's highly unlikely that the UFC would ever resign him. Dana kind of talked about it before even his last fight with the company. I think when he fought Nate Diaz, I think after that fight, um, Dana was saying that Tony probably should retire, and then he fought again against Patty. Right, the Patty fight was after the Nate Diaz fight, I think so. And then after that fight, I think that's the fight he retired. I don't remember, but yeah, he's most likely not getting resigned by the UFC. Um, Tony Ferguson went from a 12-fight win streak to an 8-fight loss streak. Yeah, it's going to be 9 probably if you include boxing. Penacing clones. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's sad. It really is sad, but it's just like a weird situation for BJ. The downfall is only spent from those few minutes and watch time. Yeah, it is sad. It sucks for Tony. Daniel rule out Tony pass. Yeah, it's essentially 100% chance Tony never resigns with the UFC, and nor should he. I mean, guys in the UFC. I mean, in any organization, Tony should not fight. He should retire from everything, but especially the UFC. I mean, these guys are just too big, too powerful, too fast, too good for Tony at this point in his career. He's just going to continue to get finished or take a lot of damage. So, I personally don't think it makes that much sense at all, honestly. But yeah, probably shouldn't put that fight together for Tony's sake. Is Cain Velasquez back in prison? I thought he got out. Or just a picture of him in prison going around. I don't know if that's an old picture or not. Whoa. That's crazy. Marab posted a video of I'll show you boys. He posted a video of Brian Ortega getting taken away in to the hospital yesterday, and the fight's still going on. Oh man, that's crazy, bro. It is really crazy how that fight's still going on, but it is. South Park is hilarious. Yeah, it is pretty funny. I mean, I've never really gotten into it that much, not because I don't like it. I just never got into it, but yeah, everybody says it's really funny. Maybe I should start getting into it. Honestly, like the only show I don't watch that many shows. The reason why is actually it's kind of a funny reason, but it's because I'm afraid that I'm going to get addicted to them and it's going to take up a lot of my time. But really, the only shows that I watch are kind of all timers. I've watched Breaking Bad, I've watched Better Call Saul, and I watched Sopranos. Those are the 3 shows that I watched. Those are all time shows, and all those shows I watched very quickly as soon as I started. I just get addicted to it, and I just don't get a lot done when I watch these great shows. That's kind of why. But yeah. Imagine if Tony Ferguson was never in a losing streak. Imagine big fights you'd be in now. Yeah, I mean, he probably would have gotten the Khabib versus Tony fight. That would have been amazing. And yeah, I mean, a lot of other big fights as well. Yeah, it would have been good. He's doing his sentence now. Okay. It's not that long, right? His sentence. Because I thought I heard good news from Cain. I don't know. John's a little nervous. Let's go, John. After the Diaz fight, Tony fought Bobby Green. Okay, yeah. So what fight did Tony retire at? Was it the Patty or was it Bobby Green? I don't remember, to be honest. I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, he just hasn't been the same forever, unfortunately. Breaking Bad is a good show. Yeah, Breaking Bad is tremendous. I think it's very rare, but I think Better Call Saul is on par, maybe even better. I don't know if I would say it's better, but it's on par at the very least, Breaking Bad, which is very uncommon. But yeah, it's just a really, really good show. But yeah, tremendous. And Sopranos is an all-timer as well. Yeah, good shows. Any show recommendations that I should watch? Maybe I should get into South Park a little bit. I heard Dexter's a good show as well. I haven't watched it, but heard that was a good one. But yeah. Yeah, I talked about this before. Okay, yeah. So Umar is going to be fighting in October on UFC 321. That's going to be another fight added to it. Um, I talked about this before. It's probably going to be against Batista. It was originally supposed to be Umar versus Batista for the Canada card coming up in November, I think it is. But they decided to go with RDR versus Fluffy, as I mentioned. But I think this makes a lot of sense. The main event versus Fluffy versus RDR, I think, is a bigger fight than Umar versus Batista. And now having Umar versus Batista in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi. As a co-main event or something on a pay-per-view, I think makes a lot of sense. So I like it. I like it. Um, Tony fought Michael. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. He lost so many times, I just forgot. Yeah, you're right. I can never get into Better Call Saul. Yeah, maybe the beginning is a little bit slow, but I thought it was like ridiculously good, especially as the show progressed. But honestly, that's kind of how it goes a lot of times. The beginning of shows are a little bit slow, but as you watch more, it gets better. But yeah. Then after the Bobby fight, Tony fought Pimlet. Then he returned August 24 against Kiesa. That was the last film coming. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Kiesa probably should retire as well, if we're being honest. But yeah, Tony losing to Kiesa definitely was a sign he should retire. And I guess he did for a few months. The Outsider from HBO is good. Okay, I'll check that out. Check that out. Then January of this year, you got his walking papers news saying, yep, True Detective season 1 is very good. Okay, I'll take a look at that as well. The Outsider and True Detective. If Tony was still winning, he would probably have got against Holloway. Yeah, I could see that. I could actually see that. I think for Holloway at this point, obviously he wants the title 155. I actually think there's a decent chance he can get it. But at this point, he probably just wants. I don't know if he wants. Well, I'm sure he wants it as well as getting a title shot. But I think we're going to see a lot of legacy fights for Max Holloway at lightweight. There's a lot of really big names at this weight class that you can put Max Holloway up against, like Charles Oliveira, like Justin Gaethje, which they already did, like Dan Hooker, like what's his face, Dustin Poirier, which they already did, and of course there's some other names as well. Even Michael Chandler, probably not gonna make that fight, but there's a lot of legacy names at 155 that I think make a lot of sense. Rankings wise for Max, but also make a lot of sense from a perspective of two guys that have been great forever and have just never fought each other. So Max moving up to 155 definitely does open up a lot more opportunities. And as I said in a bunch of my live streams, I think at this point Max Holloway is pretty good. Is honestly like the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. So he'll be good. I think he'll get a lot of wins over a lot of guys at this weight class for sure. I remember focusing on losing streak first Gaethje, then Oliveira, then Dariush, then Chandler, then Diaz, then Bobby, then Patty, then Chiesa. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It started out, I guess, a really good fighter in Gaethje, and then he fought Oliveira, who's also a really good fighter, and then Dariush, honestly, was also a really good fighter, and it just started going downhill. Then Nate Diaz, Bobby Green, Patty Pimblett. It was a good fighter, but still, Patty Pimblett, and then Chiesa. It's just, yeah, it's unfortunate. It is just really unfortunate where Tony's career went, unfortunately. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. Gaethje did a number on Tony's career for sure. He was the real start of it. Imagine if at the end of that first round when Tony Ferguson dropped Gaethje with the uppercut, imagine that put out Gaethje. Imagine how different Tony's career would be at this point. Not saying that he wouldn't have lost to some of the other guys or wouldn't have been as washed up as he is at this point. But the amount of damage that Gaethje did to Tony Ferguson definitely accelerated a lot of Tony's downfall for sure. And if he didn't take that beating, he probably would have still been fine for at least a couple more fights. And maybe still at this point, he still would have been a good fighter. But yeah, I talked about this a lot, but when you get put out cold like Charles Oliveira did against Topuria, of course it's bad. But really, when you talk about guys that become washed up and really see their chins go a little bit more so, is when they take a ridiculous amount of damage. And Tony Ferguson versus Gaethje is a perfect example of that. He just taking that amount of damage is way worse than getting KO'd with one punch. I remember after the Gaethje fight, Khabib predicted Ferguson's downfall. He said Ferguson would never be the same. Yeah. Well, I mean, after taking a beating like that, it's hard. It's hard to be the same after that sort of beating. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And after that performance, it just was never the same, obviously, for Tony. The one time he looked decent after that Gaethje fight was against Chandler in the first round when he dropped Chandler. But obviously in the second round, he got head kicked, or front kicked. So that uppercut with JC was the last of prime Tony. Yep, I agree. Even the success he had against Chandler was not prime Tony. It was success, but it was not prime Tony. But yeah, that uppercut was the last glimpse of a once great legend and Tony Ferguson. So yeah, unfortunate to see how Tony's career has unfolded at this point, but it happens. It happens in pro sports. Well, MMA specifically, I guess. I think should have retired. That's really trying to fight. Yeah, I agree. I think there's actually a lot of opportunities for him to retire, but he just wanted to keep going. The UFC was continuing to give him fights. They gave him Paddy Pimblett. I think they were probably just trying to build Paddy Pimblett at that point. They do this all the time. They give an older legend to a young up and comer. That's exactly what we saw in Paddy versus Tony. I actually thought Paddy didn't look good at all in that fight, but regardless, Paddy got the victory, and he probably built his name a little bit. But yeah, 1 second, please. What's going on, boys? Sorry, I apologize. Crazy that it's been 5 years between Gaethje and Ferguson. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while for sure. But yeah. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think that uppercut was probably just the last hope for Tony Ferguson. Even though yeah, that's fair. But anywho, boys, I think I got to dip off of the stream at this point. Thanks everybody for joining the stream. I'll see you guys potentially tomorrow. I'll let you guys know. But yeah, peace out, boys. Have a great rest of your day, and check out the video that I posted today if you guys haven't seen it. I had to say Pico take the KO. Yeah, me too. I think Pico's gonna be fine though. I think he's still gonna be good. So we'll see. But anyways, boys, peace out, fellas.